Something that I find fascinating over and over again as I rise in my corporate career and work at different companies is this. So many problems at work can be resolved if people were willing to have hard conversations. If they were willing to speak directly with one another over what's not working well, have the hard negotiation over how to resolve a problem, and just have the courage to speak up when they're noticing that something is getting in the way of high performance. And what I have found is that people just haven't been trained on actually how to have a hard conversation. Oftentimes, people have great technical capabilities, and as they rise up the ranks, they're just never taught on how to have a difficult conversation with somebody, and it just becomes awkward. Most people are conflict avoidant anyway. And what I think though is having conversations that are difficult doesn't necessarily equate to having a conflict. It doesn't have to be a fight. I think it could be productive. And so today, what I want to share with you are 3 questions that you can ask your team, your direct reports, to help them get better at having hard conversations. If you're new to me, my name is Mary Grace Gardner, and I'm a leadership coach who for the past 15 years has advised the executives at multi-billion-dollar companies on how to create high-performing teams. Now, let me share that it didn't come naturally to me all the time to be able to lead my employees to have hard conversations. I've gone through the trainings, I went through the exercises myself, I read the books on it. I had to experiment a couple different ways in order to get to these 3 particular questions. And so I hope that you find them helpful and you actually use them. Now, if an employee comes to you and shares with you a challenge that they're working on, a conflict that they're encountering, and it's an issue with another person that they are bringing up to you, this really simple question can unlock so much information. And I used it not to be mean or not to be super kind of naive about the situation. It's because I was genuinely curious. But this simple question can show you so much about the situation. And the question is this: have you told them? Have you told them? So if an employee is telling you about something and maybe they've been dealing with the problem for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years, asking them, have you told them, can tell you so much about that employee's ability to have a hard conversation. I've actually found more often than not, when I ask employees this, the answer is no. They may have been sitting in this frustration for so long and for some reason have felt like they couldn't say anything. It could be because they weren't equipped to. They might have felt like they didn't have the permission to. Their manager didn't back them in case they wanted to say something, or they were just afraid about the reaction that someone would have if they raised the problem. And so just asking the simple question of, have you told them, is going to tell you so much about your employee's ability to navigate these hard conversations. Now, the second question is, what's preventing you from having this conversation? Now, especially for employees who have sat with a problem for a long time, who have difficulty interacting with another leader, another employee, they might not realize up front what's stopping them from actually having this conversation. More oftentimes than not, it's probably permission, feeling like they could, but sometimes they might just not be equipped. They might not feel like they're at the high enough rank to have the challenging conversation with someone who might be of a high rank as well. They might feel like they don't know the background knowledge that's necessary to have a productive conversation. Most people don't want to look silly or look like they don't know something. So they might be afraid to go into the conversation and then quickly feel like they get backed into a corner because they don't have all the good responses, or they just might be just scared to have the conversation. But having them actually pinpoint what's preventing them from having the conversation is such a powerful unlock for both you and for the employee, because they are sitting with this pain for so long and there's something that's getting in the way of them having this sort of conversation. And having them actually just pinpoint what is it that's getting in the way can sometimes help them resolve it. They might realize, oh, wait, this is the reason why, and this is what I can do about it, right? That's the ideal situation. And then the third thing that you can use as a question to ask your employees to help build their muscle of having hard conversations is this: tell me what you would say if I was that person. Will you please approach me as if I was that person? And let's pretend what you're about to tell me is what you tell them. So asking them to give you the opportunity to hear how they plan on confronting or approaching another employee that they're having a conflict with is so powerful, because that can also tell you, are they ready to have this conversation? They might not have done the appropriate research yet, or have not thought through what the appropriate potential solutions might be, or you might notice that they are approaching things in a very combative way instead of a productive way. But actually giving them that space and time, and it doesn't have to be long, it could be just a couple minutes, that can give you so much information about where can you coach them so that they can have a productive conversation. Maybe their tone is accusatory instead of inquisitive. Maybe they are not being open-minded. They're being really closed-minded about what needs to be done. Their recipient needs to be in a situation where they can receive the information without feeling attacked. And so having your direct report or your employee or colleague have the space and time to be able to just practice with you what they'd say can give you so much visibility on how hard conversations are being had at your company. Now, what is super important in this sort of environment is to make sure that you're supporting a growth mindset, one where you are developing it for your team, one where you're exemplifying it for them as well. So in the next video, what I want to share are how you can embed growth mindset in your team at your company so that your team is evolving and growing and better positioned to be a high performing team. I'll see you there.